Okay, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Bit of a sober news story to start the day off with. We have got Israel declaring that they're at war. This is following early morning surprise attacks by units of Hamas, launching thousands of rockets into Israeli territory, penetrating Israeli territory with paragliders and capturing IDF soldiers and parading them around on military vehicles. At least these are the preliminary reports that I am reading. You'll have to bear with me and understand that this is a bit of a hot take. I'm drinking my morning coffee as I stream this on this Saturday morning. I do see an appropriately named user saying hello in the chat there, as the world burns. Hello, good morning. Again, this is a bit of a hot take, folks. And first of all, before we really delve into this and the implications of this from a geopolitical standpoint, I just want to say that, this is a tragedy for many people, many civilians caught in the crossfire of this conflict. And we should keep that in mind as we discuss it, that, war is a terrible thing and it's destructive. And a lot of people are going to suffer as a result of this. And so, our sympathies and thoughts, prayers, go out to all of those victims of this conflict, which is breaking out right now. But we need to talk about this because this is coming at a time when the world is already on the brink. We've discussed this many times on this show, and it seems like the factors that are leading to some major shifts in the global political structure, the economic structure, they're coming at a rapid pace now. I don't think anybody can deny that. And, it's shaping up that the end of 2024 is going to be, the world will be a very different place by the time we get there. And so we need to be doing what we can to get prepared. And we also need to keep abreast of these situations because really we're at a point where the tensions globally have gotten so high that this could have some significant impacts for us in the West. We're used to being safe at home with some big oceans between us, at least if you're in the U.S. like I am, and the rest of the world. But this is getting to a point where this will be potentially a global conflict. So let's examine this story real quick, and then we'll kind of get into what some of the implications from an economic standpoint could be, because that's really what I think we'll focus on here. All right, so we got these attacks. This is the paraglider that the Hamas soldiers were coming in. I mean, looks pretty janky device. I don't know. I mean, these are probably low budget, but probably pretty effective at avoiding radar, getting through air defenses, because I think you can fly these things like feet off the ground. So not an expert on paragliders by any means, but certainly a unique beginning to this conflict. Here are some photos of the damage. Some of the reports I've read are that citizens of some of these cities where these Hamas militants have landed are being shot indiscriminately. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, everything is very difficult to interpret through the fog of war. That is a fact, but certainly there is some major conflict going on here. So the reports I've read are that 40 Israelis have been killed. You can see here there are some militants on motorcycles, so it looks like they're using a lot of light vehicles, a lot of infiltration tactics, and 700 wounded. The hospitals are filling up with wounded civilians, and Israel has declared war. Benjamin Netanyahu launching an operation called Iron Swords to defend the Israel borders. They're tightening up their borders. They've said in case anybody else wants to get in on this, they are, taking this very seriously, as obviously they should. I mean, the world's kind of in shock here. Video taken earlier this morning appeared to show Hamas militants wandering the streets of southern Israel with machine guns. And someone says that they saw a video of them abducting a woman. Now, really, you do have to take everything that you see here from both sides not at its face value, right? Because in this age of fifth generational warfare, there is informational warfare, there is deep fakes, there is Probably, if this is a sneak attack by Hamas, which it appears to be, I'm sure they have their propaganda queued up well ahead of time to try to control the narrative. So expect lots of disinformation, expect just every type of information warfare and fifth generation warfare you can imagine as this unfolds. Now, in the U.S., just off the top of my head, something that we need to be concerned about: one, Israel is a nuclear armed nation, right? They have nukes. So, you have to take any conflict like this very seriously. I have no doubt in my mind that Israel, if they thought that there was an existential threat to their existence as a nation, that they would uncork the nukes. I do believe that that would be something they would be willing to do without a doubt. So, there's always that risk. Also, this could be part of a broader conflict breaking out. I mean, we have a huge amount of geopolitical tension going on. World War III has already started. I mean, that's something we need to keep in mind. World War III is going on actively in Eastern Europe. There's a Cold War brewing in the South China Sea. The Korean Peninsula is a hotspot, and now this. If Iran gets in on this, that's going to be a huge problem. I do have an article that I wanted to pull up. Here's one from Reuters. So this gets into some of the broader geopolitical implications here. Advisor to Iran's supreme leader expresses support for Palestinian attacks. That's from the Iranian media, and this is a headline from Reuters. Now, I wouldn't say this is a huge surprise. Hamas, I believe, is largely funded by Iran, and Iran has a huge presence in the Middle East. A lot of that has to do with their Hezbollah militias. If I'm getting this right, mind you, I'm not a geopolitical expert by any means, but Iran has these Hezbollah forces operating in Syria, near Israel, that they have been funding and that have been fighting as part of the ongoing conflict in Syria. So they have a heavy military presence there, and of course they've been saber rattling against Israel for, untold amounts of time here. So this is likely something Iran, if they didn't know about it ahead of time, they are in support here of this event. The advisor says, "We congratulate the Palestinian fighters. We will stand by the Palestinian fighters until the liberation of Palestine and Jerusalem." Now, let's get into some of the more common items that we cover on this channel. I want to talk about the petrodollar, because this is going to have some major implications for the petrodollar. Brief recap for anybody who's not familiar with the petrodollar. It's a system by which OPEC nations, led by Saudi Arabia, sell their oil in dollars. They denominate the price in dollars, they accept payment in dollars, and this is a system that was set up by Kissinger and Nixon back in the 1970s to help prop up the dollar after Nixon ended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. So we went from having a gold-backed currency to having a oil-backed currency. I've got someone in the chat here saying, "Come on, man, stick to silver." Okay, yeah, listen, man, I'm going to give you my take on this thing. I've already mentioned extensively that you have to be wary of all information coming out of any source. So, is there propaganda out there on both sides? Absolutely, 100%. At a time of war, you have to accept that all media information largely is propaganda and that there is no unbiased media, unless you come to a YouTube channel that talks about silver most of the time, because I don't really have a dog in the fight. So I'm going to give you my unbiased take. And of course, everybody has bias, so let's just not even worry about that bias word. Okay, but back to the petrodollar, because this is very relevant. So this system is a backbone of the U.S. dollar's status as the world reserve currency. It's been coming under a tremendous amount of pressure recently. There's been a lot of speculation that it's going to end. Well, my speculation is now we just got a lot closer to the end of the petrodollar. And this is going to be a huge problem for the U.S. dollar. And John Donson, who wants me to stick to silver, trust me, this is all relevant to the price of silver at the end of the day, because if these OPEC nations stop accepting U.S. dollars as the form of payment, all those dollars around the world right now that countries need to purchase oil, they're all going to come flooding back into the U.S. So this is definitely relevant to the price of silver, because if that happens, inflation's going to run out of control, and then we're going to see much higher silver and gold prices. So, John, if that makes you feel better, then I'm bringing this back to silver. There you go. Now, one of the things that we've seen recently, this is a report from August 9th from the Wall Street Journal. The Biden administration trying to put together this kind of Hail Mary pass to save the petrodollar. Biden doesn't want MBS here to sell his oil to China for yuan. And so one of the carrots we were dangling in front of the Saudi kingdom was the ability to build nuclear reactors. We were going to assist them with that. The other thing that was part of that deal was that there would be normalized relations with Israel. And also, they would only accept dollars for oil. There's a few other things part of this deal, but those are the relevant things right now. Okay, so this deal just obviously got a lot more difficult to push through because you've got Saudi Arabia and Iran and the UAE, among some other nations, joining BRICS on January 1st. Although, of course, they're only invitations, so nothing's written in stone yet. But the anticipation is that they're going to be joining the BRICS organization, the Global South, the alliance of Russia, China, India, Brazil, and South Africa. It's now going to be kind of a BRICS plus, but that is going to be made a little contentious now because, of course, Iran is joining as well. Iran and Saudi Arabia just normalized relations earlier this year, a deal brokered by China. So now, obviously, this conflict between Hamas and Israel is going to make that normalization process in regards to Palestinian normalization a lot more difficult. This is a live story from the Wall Street Journal here. Israel is war with Hamas, says Netanyahu. Live updates. Big thing here, Saudi Arabia is calling for de-escalation amid talks on normalization with Israel. I don't have the Wall Street Journal paywall set up right now, so I'm just going to read this first part to you, but this is like kind of a duh statement. The surprise attack by Hamas and Israel's expected response has the potential to derail three-way negotiations between Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the U.S. to establish formal relations between the kingdom and Israel. Yes, I think that goes without saying. And so, the lines are really being drawn pretty clearly here, folks, I think, between... you got the West, you got the G7, and then you've got BRICS in the Global South. And the BRICS GDP now exceeds that of the G7. We've got hot wars breaking out now. This was one of the major hotspots. I mean, we've talked about this pretty extensively in videos in the past. If you want to see one economic effect, now, honestly, I don't know how this is going to affect the price of gold and silver. On Monday, it's anybody's guess. I mean, there's kind of two arguments one could make. One, this could spook markets. We could see a pan sell-off event. We could see the price of gold and silver selling off in a very big way. But even though I do think that's a huge risk for, say, U.S. debt markets, the 10-year yield, I do think we'll see the 10-year yield moving up significantly on Monday. But again, that's just a forecast, and this is very much a hot take, so I haven't given this a lot of thought. But I do think that we're going to see the debt sell-off continue in a big way on Monday, maybe equity markets, stocks selling off. Gold and silver, though, I think might be a different story. I think we could see the price of gold and silver pick up as a safe haven bid due to the fact that the world is heading headfirst into World War III. But again, I really don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. I'll be buying gold and silver whether they go up, down, or sideways. That's just my view because ultimately, I do think that this is going to lead to a lot more geopolitical instability and a much dicier situation for institutions like the petrodollar. It's going to make it a lot harder to get some of these countries of the Global South to not dump our debt, let alone buy it. If this conflict really breaks out, one of the things we got to watch for is a coordinated dump of U.S. treasuries. I mean, fifth generation warfare, folks, it's everything. Economics, information, everything. We should be on the lookout for cyber attacks. That's one thing you need to be on the lookout as we head into this devolving geopolitical situation. The risk of cyber attacks, the risk of financial institutions being targeted. I think it's a good idea to have some assets outside of the financial system in the form of cash, in the form of precious metals, because this is getting serious. Crude oil. I expect that we will see the price of crude oil move much higher as a result of this. I don't know if that's going to happen in a day or a month or a week or what time frame, but not a very long time frame. I do think that this instability in the Middle East, this is going to involve ultimately a large oil producing region. We could very well see the price of crude oil spike up as a result of this. We've already got Russia and Saudi Arabia trying to constrain the supply of oil, and that situation could get a lot worse as this situation devolves. Joe Potter in the chat saying, printer go burr. Yeah, well, that's the one weapon that we have if this triggers some kind of a financial crisis. Of course, all the Fed can do is print. That's all they got. So, and, I don't think it's any coincidence, to be honest with you, that we're seeing things devolve into a state of global crisis at the same time that we see a U.S. financial crisis forming in the form of the U.S. national debt exploding. It's been about 2 weeks, and we've seen an additional $500 billion added onto the national debt. We're on track to hit $36 trillion by the end of the year. 2024 is not going to be any better. I mean, I imagine that this is going to put considerable pressure on folks in the U.S. to approve additional defense spending. The worse the situation gets in the world, the easier it is for them to spend billions and billions of dollars into the military-industrial complex, so expect the debt to get a lot bigger. And again, just keep all these folks who are living through this in mind as you go through the day. I mean, I'm living pretty comfortably. I'm sitting here drinking my coffee in my nice air-conditioned space here in the U.S., feeling pretty safe. But, just remember that this kind of conflict can go worldwide, and we all need to be getting prepared. And I really feel for any of the people, anytime Israel comes up, people, there's always a lot of folks in the comments. People have very strong opinions about this. To me, honestly, I don't really have much of a dog in the fight. I live in the U.S. I think that the admonitions of the founding fathers to not involve ourselves in the foreign affairs of other nations is the wisest course. But, for anybody, I don't care what the political lines look like. If you're just a, human, we're all humans, folks, that are trying to go about your day, and all of a sudden someone starts scooting in paragliders and rounding you up. Or, the other way, too. If you're some kid growing up in a place where, you're the victim of geopolitical forces, you're growing up in Palestine. That's nothing easy either. So I feel for all of these people, and I think a lot of these people are the victims of much larger forces that are at play. And this region really is one that will suffer as a result of, again, larger forces beyond the scope of the everyday lives of the people there. But they're still just human beings just like us. So I think that we should, feel for people who are suffering as a result of this. But that's it for today, folks. This is a short one. I actually got to run, but we'll be doing updates on this as this plays out. I wanted to give you a hot take on this, bring you up to speed on what's going on, and give you my thoughts. Some of the things we need to look out for. Petrodollar, price of oil, price of the precious metals come Monday. Monday was already shaping up to be a pretty interesting event. We got those super hot job numbers on Friday. Probably fake numbers from the BLS, to be honest, cooked up to make the economy look good. The reaction of the markets to that was kind of interesting, but Monday, I think, is shaping up to be a very interesting trading session indeed, and all of the trading sessions here, and just time period, absent economics, between now and the end of the year, we're in a fourth turning, folks. This is a major shift in the way that the world works, a major shift in geopolitical forces, so do what you can to prepare yourself. With that said, stay safe and happy stacking, everybody. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stack.